Today we are going to have a deep study on the conditions which may give us the seal. How can one be sealed? Because everyone is rushing to get a seal before the hour of probation is closed. So our lesson is aimed at seeing exactly what is it we need as a requirement for the seal. So I'm going to take this lesson in a book, 1TG 7, page 3, point 2 to 14. That's where my lesson is going to come from. And we want to see exactly what we need in order for us to be completely sealed. From the paragraph that we have, just start from where the Spirit of Prophecy records the request coming from a number of brethren. Let's hear.
A number of brethren have written to me from time to time, wanting to know what makes them eligible to receive the seal of God.
So you see, this was a question coming from everywhere in the past ages. And it should be a question around us during this time before the seal is closed. People should be inquiring, how then should I get the seal so that I am sealed for the kingdom before the probation is closed? So here we see the previous people in the other generations. They were asking questions how they could be sealed. But let's hear the answer.
Some want to know whether they will be sealed by doing this or by doing that. So
some of them had different ideas of how they were going to be sealed, like it is these days. Many people were, supposing different things, that they are going to take away my seal, or these are going to make me have a mark of the beast, or these are. So all those are inquiries that come in people's minds, that they should know how they are going to get sealed. So, but I want to understand from this lesson whether it can help us also get the seal, right?
Others want to know whether they will be left without the seal by not doing this or not doing that.
And some were saying, what really should I do to get the seal? Or sometimes they think, if I don't do this or do that, I cannot be sealed. So all these are questions that should have our minds so that we are looking for the correct answer to be sealed. Now let's hear on the next paragraph.
The questions are indeed very timely and commendable. Such vital questions deserve answers as concrete as are the questions themselves.
That's true.
And who can give a more concrete answer than those who have gone before us, those whose duties were similar to ours, those who were passing through a similar experience, those who traveled the same road that we are traveling, those who were preparing themselves for the kingdom as are we.
That's the only way to find the solution, how people can be sealed, is to check, did God have a people who were preparing for the kingdom in the previous history, church history? Did God have people who had an experience similar to us? Because our experience is we're looking for ways we can be sealed so we are eligible to inherit the kingdom. So there are people who already have done that as an example, though they did not go and receive the kingdom. But we have these examples that can help us to know how then can we be sealed. We have people who have lived in the past who are being prepared for the kingdom. These are our examples. These are what we can copy to see how then can we finally be sealed and finally inherit the kingdom. But we have a people, we have illustrated how we should behave in this last period. Let's hear more.
do we find such a parallel?
So we should be having a parallel somewhere. In whom do we find such a parallel? Then we know we cannot go wrong if we follow that. Now read on, let's hear.
In no others than those who left Egypt and started for the promised land.
Right.
No.
No others. No
None
others. Because God wanted these people who went out of Egypt to go and inherit the kingdom in Canaan. Is it not true?
Yes.
It's true. So we want to learn from them because they gave us an example of what, for maybe if we can go to the estate and find in PK 713, you'll find it's exactly where we should take our example. Where to the people who left Egypt and were going to inherit the kingdom. This was the way God was preparing them to inherit that kingdom. So we also are being prepared to inherit the kingdom at our time. They did not inherit the kingdom at that time. Why? So many things disturbed their way. But God is starting all over again with us. Let's hear from that, where he says that which...
That which God purposed to do for the world through Israel,
Right?
the chosen nation, he will finally accomplish through his church on earth today.
So these are the people which we know that which God purposed to do through Israel when they went out of Egypt is exactly what he wants to finally achieve with the church today. Do you understand? So they are perfectly our example where we should check how they conducted themselves when they were marching out of Egypt and they were being prepared to inherit the kingdom in Canaan. That which God purposed to do through them, he is finally going to do with the church today.
Amen.
So that's where we can find where we can be eligible to be saved, where we can be eligible to get the seal. You understand? Now let's hear more. Let's hear.
That which God purposed to do for the world through Israel, the chosen nation,
Right.
he will finally accomplish through his church on earth today.
Right. So we know exactly what he did when he took them out of Egypt. When they were bound to go to Canaan, it's exactly what God is going to do with the church today.
Amen.
You understand? Right? Let's hear.
He has let out his vineyard unto other husbandmen, even to his covenant-keeping people,
Right?
who faithfully render him the fruits in their seasons. Never has the Lord been without true representatives on this earth, who have made his interests their own.
Right?
These witnesses for God are numbered among the spiritual Israel, and to them will be fulfilled all the covenant promises made by Jehovah to his ancient people.
So we have seen they are the numbered few. That's why there is a numbering of the 144,000. These are the numbered few that God is going to accomplish what he wanted to do with Israel in that day when they walked out of Egypt. So here's the 144,000. They have to pass through the same order of events which the Israelites went through when they went out of Egypt. Now, yeah, of course, that's why we see in 5T 2:17, who is now our Egypt? Let's see, who is our Egypt in 2:17? Who is the Egypt of today? And that's what it was in the day when they walked out of Egypt. But in modern day today, who is Egypt according to that spirit of prophecy?
The church,
It's the church. But listen to that.
the church has turned back from following Christ her leader
Huh?
and is steadily retreating toward Egypt.
So where do we find Egypt today? In the church. So it has stopped following Christ, and it is in that situation where there was now a Pharaoh who knew not Joseph. So we have a Pharaoh now who knows not Christ. Who is Joseph? It's Jesus. So we have a similitude of what was there when the Israelites went out of Egypt. And now we know we have our Egypt, which is the church. You understand? Now let's go back. As we now know this background of how then we can achieve to receive the seal, we have to go back to the history of that people, and that will give us how we are going to receive the seal. You understand that? Now let's go to the questions. You have finished that paragraph. Let's go to the next paragraph.
They are our only type.
They are the Israelites, when they went out of Egypt, they are our only type. There is no other type. Already we call ourselves spiritual Israel, isn't it? So we are all saying they are our type.
Yes.
Right? Let's hear.
Says inspiration.
Right?
Now,
In 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 11, inspiration tells us exactly that they are our type. Let's hear that verse.
now,
Now,
all these things happened unto them for ensamples, and they are written for our admonition, upon whom the ends of the world are come.
now we know our example is them.
Yes.
And the Bible confirms it. The spirit of prophecy confirms it. That they were our example. Now, this time, we have another second Israel, which is spiritual Israel. Right? We should go the same path. We have to learn from what they were doing. How do we learn? From where they were winning, yeah? Where they were conquering is where we should learn. Where they were failing is where we should avoid. This is our example. They are our ensample. Right? Let's hear. Their duties.
Their duties, therefore, are our duties,
Right?
and their failures should be our stepping stones to success.
Exactly.
Amen.
So we shouldn't fail like what they did. Their failures is where we should be careful not to follow their example. Their duties are our duties. You understand?
Thus it is that the deeds of those who entered into the promised land must be our deeds. And if we are to be sealed, then the deeds of those who failed to enter therein we must shun as completely and as quickly as we would shun a lion's den.
Right. So we have an example, a perfect example, which the Bible clearly confirms they are our example. The spirit of prophecy confirms they are our example. If we fail, it means we did not copy from them. We should copy from their successes so we succeed. And their failures, we should not fail like them. We should have them as our stepping stones so that we are succeeding. Now, let's hear the next paragraph.
We are now to find out why some of them went into the promised land and why others did not go in.
Why should we study? Because there are some who went into the promised land and there are others who never. So that's why we have to study from them, because there are some who actually inherited the kingdom and there are some who didn't. So we have to copy what happened from the history, from their own history. Let's hear.
This scripture implies that if the experiences of ancient Israel had not been for ensamples, they would never have been written.
Why do you think they were written down? They are examples. Why? Their wilderness sojourn. Why was it written in black and white? For us to read and see, this is where they failed, or this is where they passed. So that when we are in our journey, our final journey to the kingdom, we have already an example for us to follow. And where we have to avoid, we have an example for us to avoid, because those who failed, they are making a warning to us not to go that way. You understand? So we have an example from those who walked before us. Right, let's hear.
Yes.
Yes.
In order for us to know what we must do or must not do to receive the seal and to enter into the promised land, we must examine the deed of both those who entered it and of those who were left out of it.
Right. So we have two examples from their history. we have an example of those who succeeded and those who did not succeed. So these examples, they are laid in black and white in the Bible. Why these ones failed and why these ones passed. You understand? So it is for us to know what we should do to receive the seal, or what we should do to avoid not receiving the seal. You understand? Let us begin.
Our examination by starting with Moses.
So where do we begin? We begin with Moses, the leader. Yeah, that's where we start from in that history, right?
With the human agent, the visible leader of the movement.
So we know from their history, they were under a leader. Was it?
Yes.
They were not under leaders, they were under one leader.
Yes.
Did you hear that?
Amen.
That leader was called Moses, and that leader was a prophet. So now we understand why in the latter days God says through Malachi chapter 4 verse 4 to 5 that we are also going to be led by Elijah. Why? He is giving us the design which he did when he appointed Moses. He got him on Mount Sinai, and what did he give him? Go to Nehemiah chapter 9 verse 13. What did he give Moses? He gave him a syllabus to lead those who are going to follow him. Let's hear what he gave him.
Thou camest down also upon Mount Sinai,
right?
And spakest with them from heaven, and gavest them right judgments,
right?
And true laws,
right?
Good statutes and commandments.
So the commandments were there, the 10 commandments, and also the judgments were there, and also the statutes. What are the statutes? The festivals. They were given to Moses. And what else? The testimonies were there. You understand? So this is what God did on the 3rd month after they went out of Egypt. Next, they were given all these laws as a syllabus to follow, so that anyone who goes wrong by breaking that law. Yeah? Or anyone who goes right by keeping that law. Do you understand? Now, when he gives us Elijah in the last days, let's see what laws does God give Elijah in Malachi chapter 4, verse 4 to 5. Yeah?
Behold, I will set. Okay. Remember ye the law of Moses, my servant,
Right?
which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments.
Right?
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
So, we have seen also Elijah being given a syllabus. Which one? Exactly the same syllabus like Moses.
Yes.
So we have a perfect example. We have a perfect parallel of what it was when God appointed a prophet for Israel. He gave a syllabus of the statutes and judgments and commandments. Right?
Yes.
Exactly the same syllabus goes to Elijah. If you see anyone calling himself a spiritual Israel leader without the statutes, without the commandments, without the judgments, without testimonies, and only with commandments only, it's not a perfect example of what Moses was. Moses was with all these 4 laws. Right? All the laws that came from Mount Sinai had nothing to do with the killing of the lambs. Because the killing of the lamb came as a 5th law in Numbers.
Yes.
Numbers chapter 19 will tell you that these are the laws of the killing of the lamb are called ordinances. So we didn't see the ordinances coming on Mount Sinai. On Mount Sinai, God gave Moses the perfect 4 laws, which he now continues in our time to give Elijah, someone who came after Sister White. Because Sister White says in Testimonies to Ministers, page 475, Sister White clearly says somebody is to come.
Yes.
Now, read it. Read that one. Testimonies to Ministers, page 475. It was somebody, it's not Sister White, it was somebody future to Sister White who comes as an antitype of Moses. Exactly, these two are a parallel. Why? They have the same laws. Listen to that one. Mhm.
Prophecy must be fulfilled.
Right?
The Lord says,
Mhm.
Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet
Right?
before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord.
Right?
Somebody is to come.
Somebody is to come. You,
In
see,
the-
you hear Sister White tells you that somebody is to come.
Yes. In
After
the,
her time, somebody is to come in the spirit.
in the spirit
Yeah?
and power of
Yeah.
Elijah.
Right?
And when he appears,
Mhm.
men may say you are too earnest.
Right. That somebody who comes, Sister White predicted, prophesied, that when that person appears, people will say, you are too earnest. Yeah? And,
You are too earnest.
right?
You do not interpret the scriptures in the proper way.
That person was an interpreter. So what is an interpreter? It's a prophet.
Yes.
We will interpret the prophecies. We will interpret the word of God to prepare a people to enter Canaan. You understand? To enter into the kingdom. So we have a perfect match, yeah, of what it was in the time when the Israelites went out of Egypt and what it is now. So we are saying, then what makes us eligible to be saved or sealed is now then we have two people who led Israel. Moses leading Israel was alive, was not pen and paper. Now we have Elijah leading Israel as a human being as also. So this is the parallel that we are finding. But now let's hear. We start with Moses. Right?
Let us begin
Mhm.
our examination by starting with Moses,
Mhm.
with the human agent, the visible leader of the movement.
Mhm.
Reared in the high courts of Pharaoh,
Right?
he received the highest education the world then offered.
Right?
And having understood that he was the one to free his brethren from Egyptian bondage,
Mhm.
he felt quite capable for the job.
Right. The very first thing God did was to qualify Moses. Qualify what? For the job.
For the job.
The very first thing. But some people might think of Moses thinking that he was a very big general. Yeah? Let's talk more about Moses. Before we go to what he did, he's starting to qualify somebody to do a good job. Now let's go to additional to understand more about Moses. Yeah? Because sometimes when we visualize, we say, hey, Moses was a capable man, isn't it? So that when we are looking for Elijah these days, before Christ shall come, we look for somebody, a warrior or a big giant, isn't it? But let's study more about Moses before we understand what makes us then capable to receive the seal. Now let's hear about Moses. Go to the book, there is Isaiah 55, verse 8. What does God say? We want to study more about Moses now. Because if we don't understand Moses, we'll get it wrong with Elijah. Yeah? Now, Isaiah 55, verse 8. What does it say?
For my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither are your ways my ways, saith the Lord.
So, that simply means God has a way. And also has his own thoughts, which are not the same as ours. Is it true? Why does he say so? When he chooses, he does not listen to what we want. He uses his own thoughts.
Yes.
And when he has his ways of dealing with people, he does not deal with the people according to our ways, but according to his own ways.
Yes.
And why does he say so? In case some people don't understand his ways, they should always know that he has his own ways. Sometimes most people want to use their own ways to say, no, that person can't be Elijah because of this and that and that. What is the answer to that? God's ways are not anyone's ways. Yeah? And maybe we have the Elijah. And when that Elijah is performing duties, he has things that are quite strange to our own thinking. Why? Why do we have those? Because that person is exercising the ways of God, which God inspires to do. You understand? But let's hear more. In Isaiah 55 verse 9, read
For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways.
Who can understand God? To say today, I have really seen. Let's have our Elijah today. I've seen he's quite wrong in this, in that, and that. How do you know? For God's ways are as higher as heaven itself. How do you prove that person is wrong? And this is where our brethren, our forefathers, when they worked out of Egypt, many of them who were so high-minded, who thought they knew it all, did not make it. Why? Because when Moses was working, they did not understand Moses. And we are going to meet that again in our journey. When Elijah is working, most people who are high-minded will lose it. Why? Because God's ways are higher than heaven. Do you understand? But let's hear more about that one. For as the heavens are higher, let's hear.
For as the heavens are higher than the earth, so are my ways higher than your ways,
Right?
and my thoughts than your thoughts. God works in a different manner from how we think. Where we prefer complex plans, he has often shown that simple means accomplish the work better.
That quotation is coming from 4SC 10 to 12, and then 5.2 to 3. So, God's ways and God's thoughts, no one can really understand God. To say, now I've disapproved it because I know it can't be right. You cannot go into the treasure of God's thoughts and understand everything. So, what is your duty is to find where Elijah is and simply obey. That was the duty of our forefathers. When they went out of Egypt, their duty was to find to prove that Moses had been sent by God and follow without questioning and quibbling. You understand? Those who question and those who quibble will never make it to the kingdom. Do you understand? Now here, let's hear from 4SC.
Let us highlight some examples we are familiar with.
So we want to see some examples because of this verse. Because God's ways are higher. The thoughts are, no one can comprehend God's thoughts. We can only salute him. We can't say we know him. We can only honor him by making him lead us. Do you understand? But here, let's hear more. There is an example there. The Passover deliverance. Let's hear what happened there.
In the days when Pharaoh reigned over God's people, the
Right.
Lord did not send a great army
Right.
led by a general.
The Passover deliverance, in the days when Pharaoh reigned over God's people, we said we have our modern day Pharaoh. Yet we did identify from the spiritual prophets who is the modern day Egypt and the modern day Pharaoh who does not know Joseph. We know that, isn't it? But when Pharaoh, the modern day Pharaoh, is leading God's people, you understand? We have to copy from the ancient Pharaoh. In the days when Pharaoh reigned over God's people, is Pharaoh reigning over God's people right now? Yes. Listen to that.
In the days when Pharaoh reigned over God's people, the Lord did not send a great army led by a general trained in the school of the world, to set them free
Right.
and to give them.
What should Pharaoh know? Pharaoh should study what happened in Egypt. He knew he was reigning. He had two people. He had people who did not belong to him, who were Israelites, who were in Goshen. And he knew one day they were going to be delivered out of Egypt. Really?
Yes.
Does Pharaoh, modern day Pharaoh, know that he's got wheat and tares? Huh? He has two people, isn't it?
Yes.
Wheat and tares.
Yes.
He should know that one day God will take all his wheat.
Yeah.
He will deliver his wheat to start keeping the festivals, like it was with the Israelites who were delivered out of the hand of Pharaoh to go and keep the festivals. He should know that one.
Yes.
But if he's expecting somebody to deliver them out of the Egyptian church, he shouldn't be expecting a general,
No.
a mighty army to come and remove the wheat in the church. No, God did not do that in the first parallel. He sent Moses. Let's read from there. He says, the Lord did not send a great army led by a general trained in the school of the world. Which one is the school of the world? The theology. God is not going to send anyone trained of, being a theologian to deliver the wheat from the church.
No.
No. He will do what he did with Moses. Moses wasn't trained. He was trained in the school of Pharaoh. And he emptied all the degrees so that he is not trained. So we see God coming to an untrained Moses now, not the first one. In an untrained Moses to send that untrained Moses to deliver the children of Israel. Did you understand? Let's hear more.
But he sent.
Right, start
God's
with,
people.
Lord did not send. Let's start from
The
there.
Lord did not send a great army led by a general trained in the school of the world to set them free
No.
and to give him a chance to rule over them.
No.
But he sent Moses, a simple means with his shepherd's rod.
Right. Moses was sent with a rod. That rod he was holding is recorded in the Spirit of Prophecy.
Yes.
That he went with a rod. Is it true?
Yes.
And if you are expecting an army general to deliver the wheat from the church so that they are sealed, the 144,000, God does not send an army general for the sealing process.
No.
God sent Moses with only a rod. And what was the rod standing for? Micah will tell you very well that here the rod. Did you hear?
Yes.
Who has ordained it?
Yeah.
So we see books coming to us from the prophet who wrote a book called Shepherd Rod. And you wonder where this book is coming from. But Micah will tell you in chapter 6, hear the Lord, who has ordained it.
Amen.
Because this is sent to deliver the wheat from the church. The Israelites who are in Goshen, who are captives in the church, where there is a bulk of tares, but there is a small amount of wheat around there. And God knows them. These are the 144,000. They're just a minute number, and He's going to deliver them. Do you understand? But He sent Moses with a rod. Huh?
Yes.
Now, let's hear. This last Moses.
This last Moses is the unlearned Moses.
Right. He sent somebody, not a theologian, but an unlearned somebody, to deliver the wheat, the 144,000 from Egypt. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Now let's hear more. Not
Note,
Mhm.
he is slow of speech.
Now, what was Moses? That's why I went to study Moses. Moses knew himself when he was being sent here when the bush was burning. Moses knew that he was a stammerer.
Yes.
That's why he requested, say, I'm a stammerer. You can't send somebody who, a stammerer. If someone stammers, it's got one hell of a headache. The headache comes when you send that person with a message. Huh? He knows it does not qualify. And you can see, even go to the news, people who read the news, yeah, people who come to make programs in the televisions, they are so careful to pick somebody who is fluent,
Yes.
so that the program is really lovely. So Moses knew that he will never make a good, program for God, because it needed somebody who speaks.
Yes.
Yeah? Does it need somebody who speaks?
Yes.
You are sent one, you're going to be given the statutes, the judgments, the syllabus. And what do you do with the syllabus? You have to communicate it to the people. It needs somebody who is fluent. But Moses was a stammerer. So sometimes we could have that with Elijah. And the Elijah which God picks is somebody there are people who are very fluent in speaking English. But God will bypass people like that.
Yes.
There are people who, when they talk, you take a glass of water and drink because you are enjoying. They know how to nose. They know how to lock the words in the mouth. But God will bypass them.
Yeah.
We saw him bypassing them and going to Moses, a stammerer. So what does it teach us? It doesn't matter how much you speak. God can still qualify you because of your heart.
Amen.
What does God need?
A heart.
A heart which can continue steadfast in his commission.
Amen.
So you might think, you're saying we are expecting Elijah. How come he stammers? Does not even know how to mold words in English. That is immaterial to God, because he's the author. God is the author of all languages. They came there at the Tower of Babel. And the heavenly language in Genesis chapter 11 has not yet been spoken by anybody. All these languages that we are posing with came from the Tower of Babel there. So the stammering and whatever is immaterial to God. He only wants the heart which will continue steadfast with him when he is pushing that heart to deliver the message.
Amen.
That's all he's looking for. The heart which can pronounce a word. If you can say end, you can talk. If you can attach two words together, you can speak. That's what he was on about with Moses. He knew, he created Moses and he gave him that tongue which was a stammering tongue. But he knew he was creating a deliverer of Israel. Yeah? Whatever you think, because of this, that person cannot be, because of that. God knows it as well. But even well knowing that, he sent that person.
Amen.
So it means his thoughts are not our thoughts.
Yes.
His thoughts are his.
Yes.
Whatever he did because of his thoughts.
Amen.
And some people say, if you thought it was that one, if you thought it was a man, if you thought it was a woman, if you thought it was whatever, your thoughts are not God's thoughts.
Amen.
God will send his own design. Do you understand? To deliver the wheat, the 144,000 out of Egypt, as a parallel of the first Exodus. Do you understand? Now here, he says, Moses knew he was a stammerer. Let's start with Moses. Moses. This last Moses is the unlearned Moses. No theology, nothing. So what do you expect of Elijah? Theologian? No, nothing. Unlearned. Whatever you think you're learned, take it off if you want to be sent. Now let's see. There is an unlearned Moses. There is a reason why this particular fact is documented, so that those who believe in these learnings can be brought to shame and live whatever they think a qualified person should be like this, so that they rally together with God. Now let's hear. This last
Moses
right?
is the unlearned Moses. Note, he is slow of speech,
Right?
has no eloquence, and is of a slow tongue.
There's no eloquence at all. No eloquence. This is what happened in the first Exodus. It had nothing to do with the speech. Nothing to do with eloquence. Nothing to do with... It's actually, he sent a stammerer in this mighty movement, because his thoughts and his ways are his, and nobody can finish his ways. Now let's hear. Finish that sentence.
And of uncircumcised lips, untrained.
Untrained. Uncircumcised lips. He was not trained anyway. No theology, nothing. He took somebody empty of any learning, empty. And he said, that's where I will push my words. So his words cannot go side by side with any learning. You have to take off those learnings, so that his words are most pronounced. Yeah, his message is most undiluted in that brain. Now let's hear more. He knows.
He knows not how to approach
Did
Pharaoh.
Moses know how to approach Pharaoh? Yeah? Do you know Pharaoh was the leader of the Israelites at that moment? Was somebody who needed someone who is qualified to approach him. That was a monarch. Huh? He was a monarch, a king of Israel at that time. And Moses saying, I don't even know how to approach. God knew that he was so uncircumcised, so unlearned, not even eloquent. The speech was something else. God knew all that. He doesn't even know how to salute Pharaoh. This is the man he chose to deliver Israel.
Yes.
What do you think about Elijah? What is God going to choose? Someone who everybody will laugh, a laughing stock. But let's hear more. Let's hear what happened.
He knows not how to approach Pharaoh. This Moses is not a crown prince, but a common shepherd. Only he shrinks with the thought of standing before the great monarch, like the mercury shrinks from the north wind.
Right? You see? He was not even fit to go and stand in front of Pharaoh. That's what God said. Send somebody who shrinks like mercury when in front of Pharaoh. Very unfit at all to stand in the royal palace and speak to Pharaoh. This is the person God chose. But let's hear more. Let's hear.
If it were left to human planning,
Right?
a mighty warrior would have been sent to fight for the freedom of the people.
Now, how do you think, if God had given that job of choosing Moses, of choosing the one who is going to liberate the Israelites out of Egypt, what were the human beings going to choose at that day? Were they going to choose Moses?
No.
Were they given that task to choose a deliverer of Israel?
No.
Who were they going to vote for?
One person.
So God did not give that job to anyone. He did it himself because he knew that their thoughts are not his thoughts.
Yeah.
Because his thoughts are quite different from their thoughts. When they vote for leaders to lead the church, like it was with the world, God doesn't vote. God has a lot of things that are quite immaterial in our sight, but that are very strong in his sight,
Amen.
because that's his thought. Now let's hear more. To Pharaoh.
To Pharaoh, this appeared so simple, so small, that he paid but little attention to that which was then taking place.
Now, what do you think when Pharaoh saw Moses coming, as simple as he was, coming to liberate Israel? He just laughed. It was a laughing stock. He says to Pharaoh, this appeared so simple. What are you saying? You want to liberate? No, I'm a responsible leader. I can't give the children of Israel into such hands, such incapable hands. He saw somebody very incapable of the job. What do you think they think when they hear about the pharaohs of today? They do the same and say, what? They enjoy. They sleep and enjoy. And they say, what are you talking about? Liberate who? Oh, go away. Now, this was Pharaoh's response. He says to Pharaoh, this appeared to so simple, so small that he paid but little attention to that which was then to take place. Little attention. I have no time to listen to rubbish. That was Pharaoh. Yeah. If they were to record what he was saying against Moses, against the appearance of Moses, you see exactly the same that happens when Elijah appears. They are doing the same. And God knows, is keeping that in the archive in heaven. We are yet later to see what was the response. But now it's our time for work. Yeah? And he says, nevertheless, let's hear.
Nevertheless, as he saw the leaven working in his kingdom.
But what did he see after that? He saw a leaven. Do you see what leaven does? Leaven is just simple powder, just like a teaspoon. When there is that dough, big dough, and that leaven is going to make wonders. That's why he says we are like a leaven. When leaven is placed, then it becomes a big loaf. Just a small teaspoon. Look at how it works. Diffuses itself inside the dough, and the dough is a big lump like that. So Pharaoh looked at a small, simple thing like Moses, but he now heard stories. The very first plague, the leaven was going in. You understand? He refused to let the children go out. And the next plague, the frogs even went into his food. The next even the lice. He was itching. That was leaven. He was feeling the leaven go into him as well. This is what awakened Pharaoh to say, this Moses, I was looking at him as a simple thing, but look at what happens. It's like leaven. You understand? But let's understand more. Nevertheless, as he saw the leaven,
working in his kingdom,
right?
At times he became convinced that he should let Israel go.
Did you hear him call Moses after the leaven is diffused?
Yes.
Moses, come, take them out. He was now itchy everywhere. He said, come and sooner the lice or the frogs were stopped by God. What did he say? What? This? No. He came back again to his senses to say, I can't let such a useless thing take over my people. You understand? Now let's hear more what happened. That was Moses.
But as he viewed Moses' work, simple as it was,
right?
His heart hardened, and he said, it cannot be of God.
Did you hear? Spirit of prophecy records him and say, I can't be God. It's Pharaoh, it's the modern day Pharaoh saying that, it can't be God. Wait until the leaven diffuse. Wait. and see when Elijah comes, when Elijah's work is as simple as nothing in front of your sight. But wait for the leaven. You understand? When the leaven went and he sees the frogs all over. Yeah? If it was lice, yeah, all over. Yeah? And the very leaven which made him, which made him give up was when his own firstborn died.
Yes.
Wait until Ezekiel 9 comes, then you see the leaven will show exactly who Moses was or who Elijah is. Now, let's hear more. He said, it cannot be God. I will not let Israel go. See? He was looking down on Moses. Pharaoh looked down on Moses and thought it was just a rubbish thing. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 30, verse 28. There, where you are reading. Verse 28.
And his breath.
Mm.
And his breath, as an overflowing stream, shall reach to the midst of the neck, to sift the nations with the sieve of vanity. And there shall be a bridle in the jaws of the people, causing them to err.
There is
a sieve of vanity to catch out those who gauge the work of God with vain human standards. Another example is at Jericho.
right. So when we saw how the people reacted when they saw a prophet who had been, sent of God to liberate Israel, this is exactly the same attitude. That it says there is a sieve of vanity to catch out those who gauge the work of God with vain human standards. What standard are you putting on your scale to rate that this is the work of God and this is not? Because the work of God is always contrary to what we are seeing as the work of God. Pharaoh or the church is used to those who are trained with theology. And even when they walk in, the church knows this is a minister. You understand? But it's not like that with the Exodus movement, second Exodus movement. It's not like that. The way they visualized Moses is the way they will visualize Elijah.
Yes.
It's not like a giant, like somebody who we don't even need an introduction. We knew, before anyone can tell you, you know that this one is a minister. But it's not like that with the work of God. It will be someone who, when you hear the utterances from the mouth, you know it has been sent by God.
Amen. Amen.
That's how to gauge who God is sending, right? Even when we see the example of Jericho, let's go to Jericho there, in the same paragraph. At the taking of Jericho, let's hear what happened.
At the taking of Jericho, the mighty general of armies planned the battle in such simplicity that no human being.
Do you see
could
how
take
they
the
planned
glory.
to take over Jericho?
Yeah.
Was it a general army, army which comes with all these whatever guns or whatever weapons to scare people? It was not like that.
Simple.
It was just planned in a simple way. That's how God works. God works in a very simple, out of the ordinary. When he takes the reins, when he got to testimonies to ministers, page 300, when he takes the reins into his hands, it will be so simple. We are told even when Elijah is on duty, working in the last days, Sister White, clearly shows how God will take over the work through Elijah. Let's hear what happens. You don't have, it was, when he says the simple means, the workers will be surprised. Just go to that phrase. The workers will be surprised by the simple means that God is going to use. Testimonies to means. So you see here, it will be simple. At the taking of Jericho, the mighty general of armies planned the battle in such a simplicity that no human being. Have you found it?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is it? Testimonies
TM 299.2.
299.2.
Oh, that the Lord might guide you. You should never, in a single instance, allow hearsay to move you to action. Never take action to narrow and circumscribe the work unless you know that you are moved to do so by the Spirit of the Lord.
Right. Go to the further sentence where as the means.
God will use ways and means
Right.
by which it will be seen that he is taking the reins in his own hands.
So when God is going to take over, when Elijah is taking over, God takes over the work through Elijah. Do you understand? So God will work in a way so simple. Let's describe it in that paragraph.
The workers will be surprised by the simple means that he will use to bring about and perfect his work of righteousness.
So even those who are in Elijah's group will be surprised. Those are the workers, isn't it? They'll be surprised how God will take over the reins into his hands using a prophet. You understand? They will, because there are those who will want to control. That's where the sentence I was looking for. There are those who want to control the work.
That he will use to bring about and perfect the work of righteousness.
Right?
Those who are accounted good workers will need to draw nigh to God. They will need the divine touch.
Right?
They will need to drink more deeply and continuously at the fountain of living water in order that they may discern God's work at every point. Workers may make mistakes,
Right.
but you should give them a chance to correct their errors. Give them an opportunity to learn caution by leaving the work in their hands.
So you see, the simple means which will be there when Elijah is working, even those who are being used by God at that time will also be surprised how simple the job is going to be. Like it was in when they took over Jericho. Did they know they were going to take it over that way when they were told to be quiet and march every day for 7 days? Then march 7 days on that day, on the 7th, and marching 7, and then the wall came down. But read on, let's hear.
At the taking of Jericho, the mighty general of armies planned the battle in such simplicity that no human being could take the glory to himself.
Right?
No human hand must cast down the walls of the city, lest man should take to himself the glory of victory.
So you see how simple it was. And we can name all the examples. Gideon's example, remember, where he came up with just 300 people and went to fight, and it was very simple. So let's go back to our paragraph where we were reading before. As we now know that it's going to be simple, the way God is going to be. Now we have studied about Moses. We started with Moses and we saw how he was selected, and now we want to continue to know how then are we going to be part of this movement of Elijah. It will be a movement where people will be sealed under a prophet. You understand? Like it was to those who were in Egypt, who told them to put the blood on the doorpost. It was Moses. So it was the work of the prophet which made all that right. So in the paragraph where it says, let us begin our examination by starting with Moses. Right, let's hear more.
Let us begin our examination by starting with Moses. With the human agent, the visible leader of the movement, reared in the courts of Pharaoh, he received the highest education the world then offered. And having understood that he was the one to free his brethren from Egyptian bondage.
So now we start with Moses. The very first thing, Moses was made aware by God. His task. He was told. He knew he was the deliverer. You understand? Right. And then you remember we were told that he was a stammerer. Right, let's see what else did he do when he knew. The first thing when he knew he was going to deliver Israel. Right, next paragraph, you remember?
You remember the story of how he started out to deliver them, although he was not yet told to do so. He killed an Egyptian, fell into a quarrel with one of the Hebrews, and then fled for his life.
Right, you remember
So it
all
was-
that story, you remember? Because he knew he was the one supposed to deliver. But he started to do it on his way until he fled to Midian. Right, let's hear.
So it was that in Midian he obtained a job, became a shepherd, and married his employer's daughter. During those 40 years of shepherd's life, he forgot the Egyptian language and with it the Egyptian learning. In his place, though, he learned to tend well the sheep. He therefore dismissed from his mind the idea of ever delivering the people of God from their Egyptian bondage.
Now we see Moses in Midian. He's forgotten all about the Egyptian language, forgotten all the degrees that he learned when he was in Pharaoh. He has forgotten, he now even almost forgotten his task that he's going to deliver Israel. You understand? That is the time God came to him. When he was now a useless man. No degrees, no what, working and marrying a daughter from his employer. You understand? You can imagine what he was. That's when God came to him. Yeah? Let's hear. Then it was
that God saw him strong and well able, and commanded him to go back to Egypt and to bring out of it his groaning people. You recall that Moses protested against the idea and argued that he had failed at his first attempt. The time he was young and well informed, and that at the late hour of his life he was not trying again, that he could no longer even speak the language.
right. He said he had almost forgotten the language. And also he couldn't, because he failed when he ever wanted to try. He ended up killing somebody. Now he's being told to go back again by God. You understand? That's why he was arguing, using his stammering tongue as an excuse, using this and that, so that he does not go back where he committed a crime. Now, let's hear, after a prolonged conversation.
After a prolonged conversation, God removed his objections by promising to give him his brother, Aaron, to be his spokesman.
Right.
And Moses finally consented to return to Egypt.
Right. So you see, with Moses, we have seen God preparing a leader who is going to do the job. If you are going to go next paragraph, and we want to see what happened. This is just a history of what happened between Moses and God to choose those who are going to be eligible to walk out of Egypt to the promised land. Right? After we have seen there with his shepherd.
There with his shepherd's rod, he performed many signs and wonders before both the Egyptians and the Hebrews.
Right.
And you remember what took place the night of the Passover, the night before they left Egypt. Moses had proclaimed throughout the land that in every dwelling where no blood was found on the doorpost, that very night the firstborn in each such dwelling would die.
Right.
Those who disobeyed the divine injunction were on the day following busily mourning and burying their dead,
Right.
while those who obeyed the command were joyously and orderly marching out of the cities.
We said we're learning from their mistakes and learning from those who walked out. We have two people here in Egypt. One walked out and the other did not. They were burying their firstborns. Huh? But do you see that the prophet gave an instruction? What instruction? For them to place 3 strikes of blood on the doorposts. Did people obey orders? Yes. But there are some who did not obey those orders. What happened to them? They perished. But we have also Elijah, who is going to put 3 posts at the door. Let's see the posts. Early writing, page 15. There are 3 strokes of blood at the door, or now the door is the forehead. For these 144,000, they need also an instruction from Elijah to put 3 seals on the forehead. You understand? Those whose seals will be there will be spared. And those who have no seal will all go under the general slaughter of Ezekiel 9 by God when Christ comes. But let's hear on that admonition. How then does the prophet give which seal is going to be placed on the forehead? Let's go.
The 144,000 were all sealed and perfectly united.
Right?
On their foreheads was written, God, New Jerusalem,
Right?
and a glorious star containing Jesus' new name.
So we have three seals. God, which are the Sabbaths. New Jerusalem, they are the festivals where we keep them in New Jerusalem. And the glorious star containing Jesus' new name, that's the name branch. These will be ordered, everyone, they are being ordered, everyone to have information about these 3 seals on their forehead. Anyone who will run short of those 3 will have no blood on the door, like it was in Egypt. We see God appointing Moses. In our time, he appoints Elijah. We see Moses was given a syllabus of the statutes and commandments, and also Elijah, the statutes and commandments and judgments. Same syllabus. We see those who were sealed when they were in Egypt, that they had 3 strikes on the doorpost. We see those who are sealed at this time by Elijah. They have 3 signs, which are God, New Jerusalem, and the new name of Christ, which is the branch. Do you see the similarity there? Was there any similarity? Now let's go with them. We are going with these parallels. Yeah? Now let's go. Yeah? Those who disobeyed.
Those who disobeyed the divine injunction were on that day following busily, mourning and burying their dead, while those who obeyed the command were joyously and orderly marching out of the city.
That's what happened. There was a seal. It was on the doorpost. Those who did not have it had their firstborn destroyed. And those who obeyed, they were joyously marching out. Is it what happened? Yes. Then now we are being sealed. And what is the Elijah of today saying? 3 seals, we should have 3-fold messages on your forehead. The message about God, these are the Sabbaths. And the message about New Jerusalem, where the feasts are kept in Jerusalem. And also the message about Jesus' new name. These should be on the 144,000 on the forehead. The 144,000 were perfectly sealed with these 3 sealed in early writing, page 15. We have seen it. That's the similarity with Moses' job. Is it true? So it was a message coming from the prophet to give us the seal. Never ever think that you are going to get this seal by reading the Bible for yourself. No, it should be like it was in Egypt. The prophet was sent by God to give the particular seal on the forehead, on the doorpost. And in our time, the prophet Elijah will be given a message for you and I to get the 3 seals on the forehead. But don't forget one thing. It was said that when this Elijah comes, many shall say, you do not interpret the message, right? Let me tell you how to teach your message. It is the message of the 3 seals that they will start to correct Elijah. That's why so many won't receive the seal. You understand? But let's go and enjoy these parallels between Moses and Elijah.
Yes.
Yes.
Only those who were able to take more orders were made free from slavery. It is therefore prerequisite that we learn to take orders if we are to receive the seal of God in our foreheads. Let us not forget, though, that the children of Israel left Egypt with great zeal and high hopes.
Now they are out. See, we want to receive the seal and still maintain it. Because there's still wilderness journey. That's where most lost the seal. Yeah? They lost it. But let's hear. Now they're out of the borders. They are heading to Israel, to Canaan. We want to see the similarities there. Let's hear more. They walked out with zeal. The message of the 3 seals, when you hear it, and when you come across Elijah's message, you have so much zeal that you have never had when you were still in church. Yeah? That one gives you more zeal. But let's hear, there's danger also. Let's hear more.
Let us not forget, though, that the children of Israel left Egypt with great zeal and high hopes.
Right?
But when they saw the Red Sea ahead of them, and Pharaoh's army behind them, they were filled with consternation.
Right?
They saw themselves in a death trap, although they were at the brink of another marvelous deliverance. Then they turned on Moses and accused him of bringing them to the sea, of making their escape from their enemies absolutely impossible.
Did they not believe that they were going to be delivered in Canaan? Did they not believe the message that they were supposed to go out? Did they not see the firstborns in their houses spared? Did they not prove it was God working? Was there no cloud in the sky? Was there no pillar of fire? So why did they turn to Moses? When the army was coming behind, and there was a mountain here, mountain hills here, and they were now like in a trap. Who did they accuse? Moses. Is it what they do when things are tough? Yes. Do they turn to Moses? Is it Moses now who is at fault? When we come up, we left Egypt running for dear life, happy and with the zeal, and getting all the 3 seals, enjoying that this is the right message, with all the proof that this message comes from God. But when we see our Red Seas, we turn to Moses. Moses, do you know what? Even one who commits adultery turns to Moses to accuse Moses for the adultery. Yeah, that's what was happening in the wilderness. Even one who commits anything turns to Moses. Yeah, it's Moses who did this. Now, is it Moses who caused the army of Pharaoh to follow them? No. Was Moses following instructions to also go to Israel? Yes. Were they also following instructions to go to Israel? Yes. But then when the Red Sea was now like a death threat, who did they accuse? Moses. This is what happened. I said, how are we going to be eligible to get a seal? How are we going to get a seal? But let's read on. Let's get more. Humanly viewing
the situation, they were in a precarious predicament. In that moment, they forgot their miraculous deliverance from
what did they
Pharaoh's
forget?
taskmasters.
When they were zealous, everything was fine. Moses was a true leader. And this was a message from God. And they had even witnessed, they had proof it was from God, because their own firstborns did not die. The firstborns of those who did not put blood on their door died. They had all the proof. The pillar of fire was there at night, and the cloud by day was there. They had all the proof that God was there. You understand? But humanly viewing, they were now in a situation which was very precarious. Precarious and predicament. In that moment, they forgot their miraculous, all those things, even the pillar of fire by night, even the cloud during the day, still in front of them. They forgot about it. They went to Moses. I said, what makes one eligible to get the seal. Do we do that? When things come bad, who is to blame? Yeah? When things are wrong, even when Moses was not part of it, who is to blame? When any situation arises in the church, who is to blame? Even when you know perfectly well Moses was not part of that thing, who is to blame? We have always had all our things to blame, to put Moses for that. And that happened as an example. And in the time of Elijah, it's still the same. Yeah? Now, humanly speaking, view that one. Let's hear.
Humanly viewing the situation, they were in a precarious predicament. In that moment, they forgot their miraculous deliverance from Pharaoh's taskmasters.
Right.
And
What
they-
were they doing in Egypt? Were they sitting pretty?
No.
There are some people who say, I want to go back to the modern Egypt. I was eating leeks and garlic there, leeks and garlic and whatever. But they forgot one thing. They were laying bricks. They were laying bricks. Yeah? They think it's all creams and roses and butter. But they were laying bricks. When they were always saying, we want to go back to Egypt, we want to go back to Egypt, they forgot there were bricks and there were tasks to make sure how many bricks per day. If they are not in that number, you cannot go home. There were tasks there. But all was roses. Egypt was roses because of the Red Sea. Yeah? But let's understand this one. It says, humanly viewing the situation they were in a precarious predicament. In that moment, they forgot their miraculous deliverance from Pharaoh's taskmasters, and their eyes closed to the wondrous cloud by day and pillar by fire, a pillar of fire by night that had led them all the way. Even when it was still in front of them, they forgot all about it. Read on the thing.
As they saw it, the evidence against Moses' ability to lead them safely was overwhelming.
What were they saying to each other? Is it truly a leader, this one? They were now with eyes like Pharaoh. Really, were we in our senses to follow such a person? Were we really in our senses? But they had proof when they were in Egypt that he was sent from God. They heard about all the 10 plagues. And they were marveling that Moses is the powerful leader God has appointed. But when they were at the Red Sea, Moses was rubbish. Rubbish. Is it what happened? But let's hear more. Let's hear.
As they saw it, the evidence against Moses' ability to lead them safely was overwhelming.
Right.
Insofar as they were concerned, the whole venture appeared doomed to failure. Their hopes of going ahead or of even going back left them. And all because they thought Moses, not God, was their deliverer.
This thing is a trap. It's Moses. It's not God. When they made the Red Sea, it was not Moses. Yeah? Do you understand? I said, for us to see how we are going to be sealed, let's check. The parallel is there with those who walked out of Egypt. They did our example. And we are doing the antitype of what happened. And we should learn from their mistakes. And we also should learn from their success. But these people knew that Moses was leading them and was a leader chosen from God. Out of these 10 plagues, even Pharaoh believed and released the children to go because of the last plague where the firstborn was to die. And when they walked out, they were zealous, but they did not know that their first test is coming, the Red Sea. Each one has his own Red Sea. But who do you blame? The leader. Even when the leader did not participate, it's him. Do you understand? Let's see, how short-sighted?
How short-sighted, unstable, doubting, and forgetful human beings are. Experience in the gospel work has taught me that God's people of today have the same tempter to contend with and similar temptations to overcome if they are to receive the seal of God.
Right.
What a great difference would there have been had the Israelites only believed that God, not Moses, was their leader.
If they believed it was God leading, even when the army of Pharaoh was coming, they believed that God was going to make a way, believing him non-stop without swaying, saying that one day is Moses, the other day is God. If they only constantly thought it was God, that was going to be a very marvelous experience for them. But we see from that wilderness, John, those who walked out zealous never reached Canaan. Only 2 reached. Yeah? Only their children are the ones who reached Canaan. Why did those who walked out zealous not go into Canaan? Why? We are studying. We want to understand. One, there was a prophet to put the seal, but there is also a process of maintaining that seal. There are Red Seas to come. There are shortages of water to come. There are all those problems which were there in the wilderness to come to test you whether you know it is God that you are following or it is Moses. You understand? So we shall carry on with this topic. It's a vast topic. Maybe it is going to help you and me as we are in this journey to know that there is something that makes you eligible to reach the kingdom, to get the seal complete. It's not only to read the message and say, I believe the message, but you still have to start on a journey where God will test you with the Red Sea, God will test you with the shortage of food, God will test you with the shortage of water, God will test you with the snakes which were biting people, with some people who start thinking, I remember there was meat, there was all that test. It has to come. We will be tested with everything that was testing Israel in the wilderness. When we are right at the borders of Jordan, when the kingdom starts, when we are maintaining a steadfastness in following God, that's how we are going to be saved.